Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now, one thing I haven't done in a while is a tier list update, and I think it's a perfectly appropriate time to do so. Obviously, some of the placements will be provisional and are subject to change, as virtually anything else on the tier list. But before we get going, always the mandatory disclaimers. This list is a mixture of my personal view of the game and current game relevance and trends. Do not use this list as a point of argument, but more as a food for thought. Each summoner has different needs and preferences that far outweigh the importance of this or any other list you're going to see online. If you need champions for Alliance Quest, rank up what's going to help you. If you need champions for specific things in story content, especially then, rank that up. If you need Battlegrounds defenders, go for it. So on and so forth. And always use your rank up materials, ranking up champions that will help you achieve what you are trying to do in the game. Because sometimes, like, a good example is in this meta, yet again, Ronan is an absolute beast of a champion. Far better than anything, I'd say probably the best attacker in current Battlegrounds meta. Is he the best champion? No. Is he gonna be super high in any tier list? No. But if you want to do well in current Battlegrounds, Victory Track and Gladiator Circuit, he's a definite candidate for rank up. Right, so this time around, I finally pulled a trigger to a couple of changes. Some of you might disagree with, some of you might throw it at me for one reason or another, but I placed Juggernaut at top of the game. I think it's time. I think Juggernaut has been performing at the highest level. I think without a doubt people can acknowledge the fact that Juggernaut's like top 5 attacker in Battlegrounds, period, and he has been showing himself more and more in rest of the game as well. Brutal amount of damage, ability to do a ton of tricky champion matchups, and anytime Juggernaut works, he's always one of the champions to watch out for. He kills Killmongers, Korgs, Sasquatches, virtually every tech champion, and a ton of just these random, extremely difficult fights. And he does it just about faster than virtually anything, or one of the fastest potential champions. In this current meta, yet again, he's supercharged. He was supercharged in Crit Me meta, and he seems to be always just thriving and doing better. And he was in meta tier before already. But realistically, like for me, and I know for many other people, he's one of the most used champions in the entire game for a ton of different things. Juggernaut's also like my personal go-to choice for a ton of just casual questing, for instance. Just because of how easy and simple and straightforward and fast it is. And safe. The fact that you can run him with recoil, without recoil. Mystic Dispersion can help. If opponent doesn't have buffs, it doesn't really bother him. If opponent does have buffs, it just supercharged him even further to absurd levels. Another champion that I actually swapped this time around, and here I think I will be getting some pushback. I placed Hulk up top. At the moment. Now, I do think there will be another science champion or two coming up. Because currently I'm in a fairly tricky position. Because if I would characterize Hulk right now, based on his placement top of the game, it would mean that I, at the bare minimum, give him like the third best science champion status. I don't think he's the third best science champion in the game, or more specifically, I don't think he will be the third best science champion in the game at the time I'm going to do my top science champion rankings. I think he's going to be 4th or 5th. Reason why I put him up there, because currently, from everything else in science class, I do feel like he is the most visible, most brutal. We see Hulk in Alliance War Attack, partially because of the tactics. We see Hulk in Questing, because he's just a monster. And perhaps not so less important, obviously he keeps shredding everything in Battlegrounds. It's quite simple. Just get to level 2, drop a level 2, and then stun. Or in some metas, drop a level 3, everything dies immediately after that. Or, super long stun loops if you enter your damage mode earlier. I do think that Silk and Photon will likely take his spot soon enough. I do think Photon is a new addition. I'm going to talk about Photon in a bit more detail already here. And Photon showing herself phenomenally. Silk is getting plenty of game time attention and love from players as well. Cassie Lang, I did not put higher up or did not put in place of Hulk because of the change, and I have heard quite a few people saying that it does not feel remotely the same even with maxed out inequity mastery, so it is something to talk about. For now, however, right this instant, I am going to put Hulk at the third spot. I do think that Silk and Photon, or Silk or Photon, will end up swapping places with Hulk, and I'm quite possibly going to move Hulk back down. Because as always, I do keep a very limited amount of champions up top. I do not ever want, to have 50 champions as top of the game champions, because it's not accurate. There are some champions that, gain shine, lose shine, and so forth. And Hulk is the only other addition to the top of the game list. Another swift reminder is that these tier names are just as they sound, and just because a champion is at a lower tier doesn't mean that you shouldn't like, enjoy, or think, they're amazing. There is, however, a difference of I do great things with a specific champion of an anecdotal level to this champion is the best that, everybody should be paying attention and rank. Like, I have done some amazing stuff with Carnage in in Incursions. Carnage, one of my personal favorite champions to play. He's super fun. But, I'm alright to admit that he's not the best Cosmic Champion, not close to it. It has very little utility, in fact. But, still one of my favorite champions to play. And there are still uses for him. And if you really like the champion, you should still rank him, because it's still a great champion. So the tier names, for most part, are self-explanatory. Top of the game means the best of the best. Meta means most effective tactics available. This typically means standard champions that you will find in majority of the game modes and majority of the competitive situations. Frequently useful means that champions, are not necessarily quite meta champions, but there are plenty of instances where they are the champion for the job or one of the best options for a job. Useful means rank up these champions. You will find what to do with them. You will be able to complete content and do stuff with them, especially if these are like your favorite champions. You will get the best out of them, and you will still do plenty of awesome things with them. Occasionally useful means that these situations might be, rarer to come by. And the last tier is kind of self-explanatory. These are champions that, you really have to like to rank up. Be kind. Right. A few more things to point out. Photon is new to the list, and I pretty much immediately place her in meta tier. I was fortunate enough to get 7-star. I see a ton of Photons all across the Battlegrounds decks, all across Alliance Wars. She just works, and the fact that she works even in stuff like Battlegrounds, which isn't a content, and here I'm talking specifically on offense. The fact that she works offensively in Battlegrounds, taking down Rintras and Man-Things and Sasquatches in very, very respectable times, as a two-way champion, just kind of further, beefs her up. Because Photon, obviously, significant part of her kit is dedicated for defense. Additionally, she is a ramp-up champion, and she does have persistent charges, and her damage output will be better in second, third, and fourth, and fifth fight than it is going to be in first fight. But despite all that, she's still super useful, and she's still awesome. She's still kicking ass. So Photon, I think, is deservedly in the meta tier. The demotion came to Spot, and I know this is going to be the thing that quite a few people are going to be upset with me, but I just believe wholeheartedly that Spot is losing ground, because the biggest claim for Spot to fame was Battlegrounds, let's face it. Yes, there were some people bringing him in Alliance Wars, but it was primarily Battlegrounds that made him popular. And with the scoring changes, with the 7-star block penetration, with everything else, you just see less of him, and he's less scary. And in addition to the fact that pretty much everybody learned how to fight him, so he's nowhere near as good as defenders he used to be. Initially, when, Spot was at his peak powers, he was a very potent defender. People messed up against him a lot. He was a very, very potent attacker, because despite losing 10% of the health, you could finish the fights in 30 seconds, and you were the cool guy in the club. Now, if you lose 10% of the fight, an opponent finishes the fight in 45 seconds, they're going to win. And that's a harsh reality to it. I kind of talked about it before. I was cautious of it, and I stand by it now. I don't think Spot is as high up anymore. And I think that, yeah, I see him a lot less in Battlegrounds. And I see him drafted a lot less. And we'll see what happens with him. I think meta is still a very, very high placement for a champion. So we'll see that. And Silk got a promotion because Silk, again, has been showing herself from the best side. Doing well in Battlegrounds, doing well in Alliance War. People are picking up on Silk and investing in her. So that's very reassuring to see. Few more changes. Obviously, we have an Iron Man buff. So at the moment, I didn't put Iron Man quite in meta. It might be just me. I want to know more about Iron Man. Quite a lot of people are hyped about Iron Man, and that is perfectly fine. I am not entirely on the Iron Man bandwagon. Like, even right now, I don't feel any desperate need to rank 4 Iron Man to put him in my Battlegrounds deck. And people who have rank 4 or 5 Iron Mans, you know, if I see a rank 5 Iron Man, I'm not banning him in Battlegrounds typically. For instance, just because he doesn't seem to be quite, you know, there. I don't think he's a bad champion by any means. I think he has very many really cool abilities, and I'm eager to explore him more. I think Alliance War might be more his forte than Battlegrounds, or some specific content, but on a personal level, I think he's good or very good. I don't think he's, like, you know, among the best. Maybe I'm mistaken, and that's perfectly fine. You know, due to real life circumstances, I haven't had a chance to test too many things right now, but that is where I feel comfortable placing him right now. Few more placements and or changes is obviously Vox is new, and I put Vox in the same tier as Iron Man. I think Vox is alright. I think obviously Vox has very, very little to no defensive value, but offensively he's decently fine. I don't think he's, you know, at the top of the Cosmic class with his offensive damage. I do think there are limitations to his playstyle. I see some Voxes here and there, like in Battlegrounds decks and a few other places, but at the same time, it's nothing, you know, he hasn't showed himself as a champion, like, to be kind of like panicking, fearing, banning, and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm gonna leave Vox where he is until I get a bit more feel of the character and the sense, you know, maybe he's gonna move to meta tier, maybe he's gonna move down. I think, you know, realistically, it's either gonna be Vox staying where he is right now, because I think it's a decent company in between, like Gore and Nova and Angela and stuff like that. Or maybe he shows himself to format tier. Gladiator, however, I placed a tier down. By no means, I don't think Gladiator is an awful champion. I just don't think he's a great one either. And he has, you know, obviously abilities that are quite cool. He has access to Incinerate and Cold Snap, which I like a lot. But yeah, we'll see how he does, obviously. So far, he has had very, very, very little time to do anything. And this is obviously the most overall inaccurate placement, because he's barely in the game. But at the same time, I haven't seen absolutely nothing that would make me want to place him higher. And to me, a lot of these placements are always to do with, you know, whether this champion has a place. Not whether the champion can do X, Y, or Z. The question is whether this champion does these things well enough for you to invest in him. As in, like, does he answer a problem? Is he going to be a great Alliance War defender or attacker? Is he going to be, you know, amazing Battlegrounds two-way champion, amazing Battlegrounds defender, amazing Battlegrounds attacker? Because that's how champions gain value in this game. I think if an argument is, oh, he's awesome in, you know, 8.1 or something like that, I think that there are 90 champions who are awesome in 8.1, and it means very little. I think when a champion gains, you know, some noticeable place in a game, answering problems well enough for people to actually bring him in competitive scenarios and invest materials in the champion, then the champion has worth. I think great examples here, yet again, are champions like Jubilee or Ronin, who do many, many, many things and are not awful champions by any means. They have, you know, somewhat decent damage. They have somewhat decent abilities. It's just that anything and everything those champions do, there are other champions who do it better, easier, faster, so on and so forth. So why would you ever, you know? And Gladiator's kind of there. So far, I still have all the questions. Why would you ever? If you have Hulkling, you know, much better immunities, deals with a ton better champions. Okay, Hulkling doesn't have like damage or time effects. Sometimes Hyperion, for instance, it's, you know, the original MCOC Superman, like a cosmic powerhouse champion. Pretty much such an old champion, but the way I see it, Hyperion is probably better for virtually everything. Hyperion's poison immune, he has access to regen, that's decent. Still Incinerate, okay, he doesn't have Cold Snap, but he has like Armor Break, ton of Furies, plenty of buffs, and obviously the power gain is immensely powerful. So it's just one of those things. Why would you Gladiator? And I think that's pretty much the majority of changes. I did move few champions around. You can take a look about it, but you know, this was the most important bits. Iron Man, again, frequently useful. I think Photon and Silk moved to meta tier. I think that's justified. Spot got a little demotion. Juggernaut and Hulk at the moment are at the top of the game. Again, Hulk situation, I'll probably move him down once I'm having a better feel for Photon or Silk. Maybe I'm gonna leave him there still. I want to know what you guys think about Hulk and Juggernaut up there. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about it. The link, as always, will be in the video description. And I will catch you guys later. Bye. Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about